are the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York Blue. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks taking no shorts just like winter.
New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Everybody, it's the New York Knicks podcast, episode 435, part of the Almighty Bowler Podcast Network and Dash Radio. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great, Jay. I am doing absolutely great. I'd be doing even better if preseason games actually counted, because this has been a dream of a preseason so far.
3-0?
3-0. I saw it with the Mets. The Mets went 11-1, and they became an abomination. The Jets were 1-0 and had three horrible. Actually, they won today, so they're maybe back in the right direction. I am hoping that the 3-0 preseason run is not the peak of the season. I hope we have a lot of good things ahead of us. I think we should have a lot of good things ahead of us. But I have loved the preseason so far. What have you thought?
I am liking it too. It's the Knicks are winning. There is stuff to talk about.
There's so much to talk about. It
was such a long drought of nothing this summer. So I'm glad to be back. I'm glad the Knicks are actually not miserable. I don't care if it's preseason. It's something. I've
been watching every second of preseason. Well, the Knicks basketball. I'm not going to watch anyone else. But my 7-year-old son, watched half of the Pelican game with me and got excited while we were watching. I was like, this is fantastic. Just having real basketball to watch and having a team play well. This has been great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about the games. Let's jump into here. Oh, let me ask you first. We have a lot of guys in this roster who aren't necessarily like the main guy you sought. Maybe guys who are like, hey, we're going to fill out the roster by trying to really use the roster, add a couple extra guys. Is it nice, basically, to have a GM that cares about the roster versus, I don't know, maybe the previous regime who left an open roster spot for half a season or gave Sasha Vucevic, whatever, a roster spot for a year and a half for no good reason, as opposed to trying to find young players who might have some upside.
They're really working the G League. They've
already signed half their Westchester squad.
I know they
are. It seems like Mills and it basically seems like Perry and Mills are going out of their way to be like, hey, we're really hungry to be really good at this job. We don't want to just draft a guy and go, okay, we're done for the season. Play a triangle. We're done. They're working overtime. You get the idea that Perry works harder than most of us work at their job.
Yeah, they actually seem to know who's on the roster. I don't think Phil knew half the guys on the roster. I mean,
this week we had a guy like Alonzo Trier had an awesome game 2. He looked awesome, and we're starting to think, hey, maybe the Knicks might have found something, and just basically a non-drafty signing could be a guy that could be a role player in the future. This would never happen under the Phil regime, and I know Ron Baker was under the Phil regime. But generally, Phil didn't seem to give a crap about the last 2 or 3 spots in the roster.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
It is nice to have someone basically that seems like he's hungry and really wants to prove prove that he's a good GM / good team president by making this roster all it could be. So I am excited. And who was the guy that they cut? I can't even remember the lanky dude. That was like a burst of energy from the summer league.
Oh, I know who you mean. I know exactly who you mean.
God, we're awful. Anyway, they cut him. They signed Noah Vonleh, and you were like, "Oh, who the hell?" And Noah Vonleh looks pretty good.
He does.
Happy.
He looks decent.
Yeah, I'm watching. I've only seen a little bit of Noah Vonleh, but I'm already thinking like, "Hey, he could at least give us what Kyle O'Quinn gave us."
I mean, he had a double-double in 13 minutes in Game 3. That's nice production.
He's got some size. The dude has massive arms. The dude looks like he looks huge. Mm-hmm. He looks like if at any point we're gonna rumble with another team, Vonleh's out front. He's gonna beat up everyone else. He looks huge. And you got to think I'm just little I've watched of Vonleh, he looks like he can rebound. He could shoot threes, which Kyle Quinn could not do. I'm not saying he's better than Kyle Quinn, but he can add a burst of energy, and at the same time, he could easily do a couple dumb boneheaded plays in a row, which that's what Kyle Quinn's like trademark was, boneheaded plays. After you start rooting for him, he just something boneheaded.
Right.
There was one play, I think Vonleh was looking good. I'm like, I think we might have found someone. And then Vonleh turned the ball over and then immediately fouled the player that got the ball. And I was like, oh, okay, he's really fitting in now.
The Knicks are going to foul a lot this season.
They're going to foul a lot. So let's just talk briefly about the games.
Okay.
The first game was against the Wizards. And, well, what do you got to say here?
I'm glad I'm not a Wizards fan.
The Wizards look fine. I mean,
no, the Wizards are going to be...
John Wall played 9 minutes of the game.
The Wizards are going to be better than the Knicks. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But they're also...
Not really going
They have
anywhere.
like 3 max contracts, and they don't look that much better.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you go in all in on guys you have already, and you're like, and you weren't like going anywhere with that team.
Yeah.
So you went all the way in on like Porter, and Porter's good, but you're not like, we still have the same guy, and now we're paying him a lot more money.
Yeah, Porter is definitely not worth that contract.
And Bradley Beal, he's good. I can't say I wouldn't want him on the Knicks, but not at the price you're paying for him.
Yeah. But back to the Knicks.
Back to the Knicks.
Knox is the real deal.
So Knox looked. So in this game, I think he started off. He missed a shot or two, and then I remember he missed a shot and then immediately went for the rebound, got the rebound, put it back up, and then right after that he went coast to coast, and I was like, "This is the Knox I remember from preseason." I mean, from Summer League.
It was a little bit of, will he be good against NBA competition, or did he just look good because it was Summer League?
Yeah, and it's a bit of overall over the preseason. It's been a bit of like sometimes he looks good and sometimes he looks like he's a rookie, which is what's going to happen because he's a rookie.
I fully expect that all season, and I don't have a problem with that.
But his shot looks nice. He got I think they said Fitz challenged Knox before the game to get. Your job is to get like 7 or 8 rebounds. He got 10 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really when Cantor's on the floor. Totally get Cantor is going to get tons of rebounds. You don't have to worry about rebounding as much. But when Cantor's off the floor, we have to worry about rebounding. One knock, I love Mitchell Robinson so far, but one knock against him, I don't think he's the best rebounder. At least right now, he seems like he's always a little bit out of position. And guys that he should be able to get rebounds over get like position on him and just makes it harder for Robinson to get the rebound. Basically, you need guys like Knox stepping up, getting rebounds also. Yeah,
I mean, the whole Robinson thing could just be growing pains. He hasn't played organized basketball in a year and a half. So
I thought he generally looked really. I liked what I saw from him in this game. But so one thing about Knox, I love about him getting the rebound also is Knox has a handle. He can dribble. He gets the ball and he immediately just takes the ball up court. You don't have to wait. You don't have to like readjust, get the ball to the point guard and readjust.
Mm-hmm.
Having guys that can basically get the rebound and immediately dribble up court makes a huge difference as far as moving the ball faster.
Yeah.
I think they said they had 11 fast break points in the first half of this game, which I'm not sure the Knicks had 11 fast break points in the entire game in the last 3 years.
Yeah, the pace has definitely picked up, which is nice. There's still not a ton of 3-point shooting.
Yeah, well, I feel like you have some guys that can shoot threes. Knox can shoot threes, but actually, the guy I think is going to shoot more threes than you expect, and we're going to actually like is Lance Thomas. Lance Thomas can shoot the three. And when given the opportunity, he hit a couple threes in this game. And did you see what Lance did against the Pelicans when he was driving to the basket a couple times?
No,
I think Lance might have a decent year. I mean, he's not going to be a good player, but he's going to be worth the playing time he's going to get.
Yeah, Lance is going to get a lot of minutes.
But I feel like he's looked pretty decent during the preseason. If he stays in his lane, doesn't try to do too much, I feel like we're going to get a lot out of him. You hit him for an open three, he can hit an open three. He can hit it at a pretty decent rate. The last 3 years, I think he's hit like around 40% from three, or maybe a little bit under, which is what you want. You hit this guy for a three, he'll pass it to him, he'll hit a three. His defense is okay. It's not. The defense looks good because the Knicks just aren't a good defensive team.
Mm-hmm.
But it's decent enough, his defense. And every once in a while, he can drive to the basket and look okay getting the ball. Like, as long as he doesn't try to do too much, we're going to like what we get out of Lance Thomas, I think.
The Knicks starting small forward, he can look okay.
Yeah. But So getting back to Mitchell Robinson, I've liked what I've seen from him. I think in this game, at least what I noticed from this game, he altered beyond like the block shots, and he only got one block shot in this game, but he altered a lot of guys' shots.
Mhm.
His length, he showed a bunch of guys who were like a bunch of shots where guys had to like change their shot a little bit, and Robinson doesn't get credit for the block, but he gets credit for basically stopping the score. Basically, the guy
Right.
couldn't score because he had to alter his shot.
And that's big.
That's huge. You have him next to KP once Robinson really learns the game and have him next to KP, it's going to be like no one's going to be able to score in the paint. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, it
This
looks
game
like
also
they're-
reminded me that Cantor cannot play defense. But I do remember the fact that he's pretty amazing around the glass, and he's pretty.
Well, that's the thing. We were saying he's going to have to be like a 20 and 10 guy if he's going to play that bad defense, but so far he's doing that. So-
The one thing I was surprised in this game is I thought we'd see a little more Luke Cornett. Actually, I thought we'd see a little more Luke Cornett generally in the first 3 games. And what I've gotten is that the Knicks don't think Luke Cornett is going to be a part of this team.
Luke Cornett is in danger of losing his roster spot, I think.
I really think so. I think the Knicks have looked at Mitchell Robinson. I think Cornett might just stay on the roster for just like depth, but they've looked at Mitchell Robinson, who's just so much more athletic. It's like just a different planet of athleticism. They look at Noah Vonleh, and Vonleh's not quite as tall as Cornett, but like he's better than Cornett. He gives you a lot more, much more athletic. The Knicks want to be more athletic, so this is. I think they said that. I think that they said in the first game they commented that Perry and Mills were watching the Knicks last year against the Lakers, and at some point they just turned to each other and just said, "We have to get more athletic. We cannot roll with a team like this team next year."
Mm-hmm.
And so they've really gone out of their way basically to get guys who can do a lot more basically. And like I think Cornett is a guy that maybe you get excited about him last year's squad because he can hit some threes, but he can't do a whole lot. He's going to get burned basically on defense. He's basically a taller Steve Novak, but he doesn't really do much more than hit threes, and he doesn't really hit threes at a great. He's yet to prove that he's going to hit it at a great clip to have him.
He's not hitting threes like Steve Novak, so it's. He is probably injury insurance until Porzingis comes back, and then maybe his spot gets replaced by Trier or something.
The only other comments from this game, one, I love that what's his name, Morris got tossed in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the
always
Morris,
a good sign when your starters are getting ejected in a preseason game.
Well, he started. So if you didn't see it, Markieff Morris. It's for some reason him and Mitchell Robinson, like they were at it was a free throw was going on. Somehow they maybe were talking trash to each other. I'm not sure. Morris got really upset, and he kind of got in Mitchell Robinson's face. And Robinson just kind of turned away.
Mm-hmm.
The play's over. They're going to the next play, and Morris is just basically in his ear, just like talking trash and will not shut up. The ref just turned and just tossed them out of the game, which is what you want to do in the preseason because we don't need fights in the preseason.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Did you see JR?
No, I didn't see what.
Oh, JR started a fight in the preseason.
Oh, how I miss him. What happened? I don't know. I don't know what happened to JR's fight. Where are they now? Still being a bonehead.
He got tangled up under the net and two-hand pushed Aaron Baines.
Yeah.
And so Marcus Smart flipped out and started attacking JR, and it turned into a whole thing.
Okay, that's great.
Where are they now? J.R. Smith.
The other
he
thing
did have his calf covered up from the advertisement he got on his calf.
Dotson actually got a bunch of playing time. This game went into overtime, which basically everyone in the building was like, really? We have to go into overtime in preseason? You guys one of your teams could just win this?
Yeah.
But Dotson got a bunch of extra playing time because of that. And Dotson looked actually pretty good. He did not look like the hungover Dotson or allegedly, according to us, hungover Dotson from Summer League. Dotson actually looked pretty decent.
He did. It made me feel a little better because, Summer League, he was looking real bad. So it was good seeing him look like an actual NBA player in preseason.
So before we even get to the next, I guess we can get to the next. There's one other person I want to comment on, and I actually made a top 5 of roster competitions that we should talk about, basically, because everyone's competing for their position on the roster. And the first one, I feel like is relevant because I don't want to get too far past him. So this competition, I think, is a very important one. Emmanuel Mudiay versus empty roster spot.
Is this what I think is going to win or what I would like to win?
Well, who do you think is
Two
winning?
different answers.
The value of having Emmanuel Mudiay on the roster or having literally no one in that spot? Like just having an empty spot, air there instead. So Mudiay on one side versus not having a person on the roster. Who is winning here? I mean, empty roster spot could turn into someone who's not going to immediately turn the ball over, a point guard that will actually pass the ball, a point guard that's not a flaming pile of dog poo. Mudiay, on the other hand, is 22 and has lots of potential, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's the new Mr. Potential.
He has not looked he's looked like garbage. The first 2 games he looked like complete garbage. I mean, we'll get to in the third game in the Pelicans. I guess why do you think they still had him start in the third game?
I think he's messing around with. He's trying to build up confidence.
Yeah. Well, I guess when Fizdale took this job in the first place, when he gave his speech to the Knicks, one of the things he had said, which I had forgotten, they mentioned during the game, was one of the things he had said was specifically we're gonna fix you. When he pointed to Mudiay and said, "We're gonna fix you." So I think he's taking on Mudiay as a project.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are doing with Mudiay what Philly is trying to do with Fultz, except that Fultz could still turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, so I like Fizdale has made a point about all these guys because the Knicks have a lot of guys who are basically on their second chance. Burke is on his second chance. Vonleh's on his second chance. Obviously, Moody is on his second chance. Hezonja is on his second chance. And he said all these guys, they've been in the league for a year or two, and immediately teams are writing them off saying they're done, even though these guys had so much potential coming in. And it's kind of unfair of everyone to write guys off when they're 2 years in the league and they just haven't got they just probably need a little more seasoning. And people overreact to a player's performance in their first year or two.
Isn't it Moody's 4th year though?
Oh yeah, I still think we should be done with the Moody experiment. I think empty roster spot. I mean, Noah Vonleh could be empty roster, could get that spot because Vonleh right now is not guaranteed. Or you could give the spot to Alonzo Trier, or you can give the roster spot to me or Jay. Anyway, I think you'd be better off than having Mudiay out there. I do think, I guess they wanted to see how Mudiay did on his own and probably wanted to see Burke and Ntilikina play together a little more. So it made sense to maybe have Burke and Ntilikina off the bench and put Mudiay with Tim Hardaway and see how that, which is not going to be a good defensively at all. But Mudiay didn't look awful in the third game, but generally, also Mudiay versus Ron Baker, who deserves more playing time?
Oof. Now that's a question.
I think Ron Baker, now I don't think he definitely deserves playing time, but he did look pretty decent from what I've seen. He looked pretty decent in the Wizards game. I mean, he showed a lot of hustle and made a turnover or two. He didn't even hit a 3 in that game. I don't think he's quite good enough to be a rotation piece, but I think I'd rather give him playing time than Mudiay.
Baker isn't a great shooter, but he knows it. Mudiay is a terrible shooter and thinks he's good.
There were 3 or 4 plays in a row in the Wizards game where I was I thought Mudiay was the point guard. Why is he not passing the ball? It wasn't like he was making the shots at least. He missed 3 or 4 in a row where you're where he didn't even he just dribbled the ball in, just went for his own shot, didn't care about passing the ball because he was just wanting to make his own shot. And you're you got to get other guys going.
Well, that and don't do that unless you're actually a good shooter. Westbrook can get away with that. Mudiay cannot.
I mean, at least if Burke is doing it, Burke tends to make some more shots.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. Game 2, the story against the Nets. I thought this was an interesting one. The Knicks were down by a bunch to start the game. I think they were down at one point 20-6, and I started thinking oh, this is not going to be a good night. And then Alonzo Trier took over.
That was
also had a pretty good start in game 2.
That game. I mean, I know he's on a 2-way contract, so he probably won't start the season on the team. But if somebody is going to get cut, say it's game 40, and Mudiay just still sucks, you got Trier to fall back on now.
Well, I guess so. It's because the 2-way contract, how it works, they were saying that he can play on the Knicks for 45 days during the G League season. which it also means is anytime he plays in the Knicks prior to the G League season, it doesn't count against this this maximum.
Interesting.
So he has I'm not sure when the G League season starts, and I should have looked this up, but it's probably in a few weeks.
Wait, that doesn't count toward the maximum 15-person roster?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I think you might it may there's still probably a maximum of how you can tell me you can suit up, but I think you might be able to have him on the team as a two-way, because as a two-way contract you can call him up for 45 days and not having him count against the 15 maximum.
That's interesting.
So basically what the Knicks could do is have him on the roster until G League. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to add what I think the Knicks should actually do with Moutier, because they're not going to cut him anyway. He should go down to the G League and spend a couple months in the G League. He should pull a Trey Burke, prove himself in the G League, and then come back up. His confidence is shot. He needs a lot of playing time to get better. He should be humble enough to do what Trey Burke did and reprove himself in the G League.
Yeah.
I think that would be the best use, and having him play actual NBA games is just a travesty. But if you want to give him a second chance, that's what I would do. But so anyway, Trier could play up until the G League season starts, and then 45 days while the G League is going on, which means basically for the first 2 months of the season, you don't have to make a decision on the roster spot. And once his 45 days are up, then you can cut someone.
Mm-hmm.
So
and by then you have a good sample size. Yeah,
you'll get a good sample size, and also in that respect, you have an extra roster spot till then, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well there's no reason to cut someone to sign him to a roster spot early when you can already play him until that maximum's up.
I like it.
So Trier, if Ntilikina was doing what Trier was doing on offense right now, I think we would all make a statue to Ntilikina and do a circle jerk around it.
Yeah, we'd be losing our minds. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Trier's looked fantastic on offense. I know his handle, you know what his handle is on Twitter?
ISO.
Yeah. So, and people have been, it's kind of funny that the Knicks should be going away from ISO, and this guy is literally just calling out the fact that he's ISO heavy, and he was very ISO heavy in the net game. But you know what he kept doing is he kept getting to the line, he kept making shots. He would just basically he'd go right to the basket, and absorb the contact, either make the shot or get the foul. It was pretty awesome. It's really what you kind of want your shooting guard to do. I mean, you want a little more passing from him, and his defense actually he also had this game. He had a chase down block, which they ended up calling a goaltend, but on the replay it was an actual block. I don't know overall how good his defense is, but he kind of plays to me like the way I remember Isaiah Thomas on the Celtics played, where he was just with a band, would just go to the lane.
Yeah.
Except for Trier, Trier plays like he's you would think he's much shorter. Then you look, he's 6'5". So I don't know. I like
You're not comparing his defense to Isaiah Thomas's.
No. I mean, I meant on offense, the fact that Isaiah Thomas would just go to he would just go to the basket. You give the ball to Isaiah, he's going to the basket. He's either getting fouled or making the shot every time.
Because Isaiah Thomas is one of the worst defenders in the league.
No. Trier, I don't know how his defense really is. I watched a little. I don't have a good take on how good his defense is. I'd say it's fine right now. It hasn't looked particularly bad, but I do like the fact he had a chase down block, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think if you don't actively notice defense, that's usually a good sign.
Cantor in this game, by the way, played so well that you kind of just said, "Fine, Cantor, we get He didn't look. I felt like in game one he looked pretty horrible on defense, but I think since then he's looked okay enough on defense. And he had 22 points in 22 points, 20 rebounds in 27 minutes. That's fine. Your defense is not going to be that great. If you're putting up those numbers, we'll live with that.
Yeah, and he went for 20 and 15 in game 3. So if he's going to put up monster numbers like that, then you can deal with the lack of defense.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he cleans up the boards also, it's pretty nice. But so when a guy like Trier goes to the basket also so aggressively, it's nice that if he misses the shot, Cantor could be right there and grab the ball and just dunk it.
Yeah.
I want guards to go to the basket just full force and make shots. I mean, Moutier goes to the basket and misses every shot. But I feel like if Trier was the guy drafted 4 years ago with the 5th or 6th or 7th pick, and on his second chance, and Moutier was like the non-drafted free agent signing,
Mhm.
you already would have cut Moutier, and you'd be like, oh, we found some gold in Trier.
Right.
I love the fact that I think Perry's and Mills just nailed this draft. I mean, I don't know how good these guys will be, but like between Knox, Mitchell Robinson, and Alonzo Trier, you have at the very least these three guys should be like solid bench pieces going forward. Hopefully, a lot better. Knox hopefully will be a starter going forward, and hopefully Mitchell Robinson at some point will be also. But they got as much of the draft out of the draft that you could hope they could have gotten.
Well, this week they had the GM summit or whatever you call it. The where they poll all the GMs.
Yeah.
And so they did top fives, and they did top 5 players that are going to, best drafted at their position, who's going to exceed expectations. And Knox made the list on a couple of those.
I think he's going to be pretty good. By the way, I also want to point out in this game, the Lance Thomas, here's his stat line. He was 0 for 3, no free throws, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and a block shot. And you know what else he was? He had the best plus minus on the team.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like thinking like, oh, he put up like no stats whatsoever. And then I look at the plus minus. I'm like, oh, I guess there's something there.
Yeah, I mean, the plus minus to that, I mean, like obviously you can be on the court at the right time, but I think that probably speaks to that he did a lot of non-box score stuff that really actually helped the team out.
Well, also I think plus minus, you have to look at a body of work. Like one game could be a fluke, but if he's consistently has a good plus minus, then that starts to paint a picture.
Well, he was plus 10 against the Pelicans, and against the Wizards, he was -5. Okay, forget it.
Garbage.
And the last game against the Pelicans, I feel like that was the game where Bonley, if anything, was like the big surprise, coming out there and looking pretty good and looking like he could be another matchup that I think is an interesting one. Bonley versus Mitchell Robinson. So Mitchell Robinson also got hurt in game 2. He sprained his ankle. He's day-to-day. He's not going to play Monday against the Wizards on Monday, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, Bonley's getting a little more look because of that. Bonley versus Mitchell Robinson for the backup center role. Any thoughts on that?
It's interesting. I think we're in a position where there's room for both, assuming Noah gets cut.
Noah will be cut, yes.
Yeah. It might just be as simple as whoever looks better that day, or whoever coach thinks that has a better matchup.
Whoever doesn't get foul, whoever doesn't go crazy foul trouble, basically.
Yeah, that's also the thing. I mean, right now, Mitchell Robinson doesn't look like he's able to play more than 15 minutes without getting into foul trouble. So
I like what I see with Mitchell Robinson, but I definitely worry about the fouls. I mean, Vonleh looks like he might be a big foul also, but both of them they're solid. I don't miss Kylo Quinn in any way. These guys are solid options for backup center. Vonleh's not quite as tall. Vonleh's, I guess 6'9", was a little short for your backup center, but he's big enough that he can make up for that. It's an interesting. It'll be an interesting competition. I feel like hopefully Mitchell Robinson will win out because I feel like he's going to be really good. But interesting enough competition. What else from this game? I think Lance Thomas also looked pretty good in this game. Also, Lance Thomas had 13 points in the game, which is you get 13 points from Lance Thomas.
Yeah, for Lance Thomas, that's a very good offensive game.
He had a couple plays where he drove to the basket where I was like, "Stop it! Don't!" Oh, he made it. Okay, fine, whatever.
My concern is that all this talk about Ntilikina expanding his game, his offense does not. It doesn't look like he's doing anything on offense.
Yeah, he didn't look good in the Pelican game. In the net game, he looked okay. He had a couple shots. There was some aggressiveness at times. He looked okay. It's going to be a slow project. I think it's going to be a slow build for him. He'll get better over time. Actually, Clyde Frazier was asked about Ntilikina, and he said when he came into the league, he also was very timid. He was known as a good defender, very timid at offense, and it took him really a while before he really got his offensive game going. I haven't checked Frazier's box score his stats to see how that played out, but he claims that he also had a lot of trouble on being aggressive on offense at first.
Yeah, people are writing Ntilikina off already. He can't even drink yet.
Yeah, I think he can drink. No, is he 20 only?
I think so.
Yeah, no, you're right. They also, by the way, just on a side note, so I guess Fizdale had Well, he had on before the first preseason game, he had Patrick Ewing come talk to the team about being a Knick, which I thought was pretty awesome. I think the Knicks' past approach to Patrick Ewing was, hey, we have a coaching vacancy. Don't return Patrick Ewing's phone calls. Pretend he doesn't exist. So I like the fact that he's like Fizdale's like, hey, he's the greatest Knick of all time. Let me have him try to inspire this team. But he's also now had Clyde Frazier, come speak to the team also. And apparently they asked Frazier about like, hey, have you been giving your input the last couple of years to the team? And he said, no one's asked him for years to like give input.
Why not? The guy's only watched every minute of every game for the last like 30 years. Why ask him anything?
Why ask him anything? Yeah, exactly. So at least Fizdale seems to know who to ask. Like, I love Fizdale so far. I am a huge fan. I don't know what the results will be, but I love how he's doing things.
Yeah.
And I also love the fact that he's made this team supposedly he's going to as well conditioned as he could, and it seems like the team's not having their normal lapses during third quarters where they're like, okay, time to stop playing because we're tired. Yeah. So what else was I going to ask? Ntilikina hasn't looked as it's going to be a slow build here. So here's another question for you. And I asked this one on Twitter in a poll. Who do you think is more likely to be the Knicks' starting point guard in 5 years? Ntilikina or the 2019 first-round pick?
I would still say Ntilikina, but not as confident as I was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. His defense. He had like I think he had a good block in this game, and like I've loved a lot what I've seen from him. But I'm starting to wonder like how long it's going to take with him. And I know it's only his second year. We haven't started the second season, but I wonder in a league where you really need point guards who can score and be more aggressive on offense.
That's the thing. If you're amazing on defense but don't do much on offense, you can get away with it if you're a big man. But if you're a guard, you have to be able to hit 3-pointers or penetrate or be an amazing passer. You got to do some of those things.
Right now, that's why he's also like a guy with you're not sure where he is. He's a guard. He's not sure if he's a point guard or a shooting guard, but he provides defense. He's definitely a guy that, like, at the very least, he's an NBA player for a long time and like a solid defender, can add a lot to your team. The question is if the offense will ever get there, and we'll see. The thing is, when he has driven to the basket and has shot, he's looked decent. Mm-hmm. I just know why he doesn't find more of his spots to do this more often.
Maybe it's still a confidence thing.
Yeah, it's going to take time. He said last year he felt like it was a whirlwind. He really lost confidence last year. So hopefully, and he said so far, like, Fizdale has really been like, do your thing. Like, he's been there. He's taken a lot of the pressure off his shoulders, made him feel a lot better about things so far.
Fizdale's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. What else was I going to say? And this game also, what have you thought of Herzanya?
He hasn't really done much. I mean, he's another guy with Mr. Potential, but he hasn't really impressed me.
Yeah, he's looked okay.
He's looked like a 8th or 9th man, which I don't think was the intention bringing him on.
Yeah, you're hoping he emerges at becoming. He emerges where like he's like going to compete for a starting position on this team, and he's not quite. So far, Lance Thomas has blown him out of the water as far as like and
not a good sign. Not a good sign.
He doesn't really, but he may take a little while to get going. Guys take a while to get going, and I don't know. Yeah, like I was listening to some other Knicks show where they were talking about. They were like. Moutier calling him garbage, which he is, and they're like, he's 22, but whatever, he's had his time, he's been in the league 4 years. And then they were saying how that they're like, Mario Hezonja, they're like, yeah, he's a veteran, it's not a big deal, I'm not as worried about his preseason performance. And I was like, they've been in the league for the exact same amount of time. Yeah. You have to be equally worried about, like, so one thing I also liked about this game was I watched the game, but like later on I just wanted to see the highlights, and I clicked on the highlights on my ESPN app, and all the highlights were of Anthony Davis, and the highlights made it look like Anthony Davis had some monster game against the Knicks, and one of the top 4 players in the league was 5 for 17. So he didn't exactly have he was a minus 21 for the game. They showed like the 5 shots he hit without the other 12 he had missed.
They know where their page clicks are. I mean, they're basically only covering the Lakers right now.
Yeah, which I completely understand. But okay, going back to some other questions for you of roster competitions. So we did that. So Burke versus Ntilikina. This is, I guess, also Burke versus Ntilikina. Who do you want starting? And keep in mind the guy's going to be next to him. If Burke starts, Timmy Hardaway is probably starting at shooting guard. I think we can agree with that, right?
Unfortunately.
I mean, I think he's locked in as our starting shooting guard. So, are we better off having Burke next to Timmy Hardaway, or are we better off having Ntilikina's better defense next to him, and then have Burke out there with whoever else is?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe just start Frank because Hardaway's not good on defense either. And if you have Hardaway and Cantor out there, I'd say Knox is maybe a neutral. And then, so you want at least 2 pluses to neutralize the 2 negatives out there.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think overall Burke has probably done a better job of Ntilikina in the preseason. I think Burke should win the starting point guard competition based on that. But him being next to Tim, I kind of feel like maybe you want Ntilikina next to him.
Yeah, I mean, a Burke, Timmy, Cantor lineup is not good. It doesn't matter who the other 2 guys is. It's too much.
Yeah. My other competitions, I guess we covered Mitchell Robinson versus. I was going to say Mitchell Robinson versus Cantor, but I think Cantor obviously has won the starting center job.
Yeah.
It's Robinson really now versus versus Noah Vonleh.
Yeah.
So here's one for us: Alonzo Trier getting playing time versus Courtney Lee. Because I feel like part of the problem with Alonzo Trier is that his playing time is going to immediately vanish and go to Courtney Lee.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Lee is one of there's only a few vets on the team now.
Yeah, he has. I guess he's been injured with a neck issue.
Yeah,
and so he hasn't played in the preseason yet. But once you have to mix in minutes for Courtney Lee, I don't know how you're going to find minutes for Trier. Even though I'd love to see, everyone will get time to play, and if they play well, they'll get minutes. So things will all work itself out. But I feel like I'd like to see more Trier, less Courtney Lee.
Yeah, it's either going to have to take an injury or a trade. I think.
I don't think he's getting. I guess basically he'll get some point to play, and then if he does well, keep getting more playing time. I mean, Fizdale has said that he's earning. So far, Trier has been earning himself a shot to play or a spot in the roster. But I guess we don't know what's going to actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many minutes to go around. I mean, if this is what I was saying earlier in the show, if a few months go by and Moutier still stinks, maybe Trier just takes Moutier's spot.
Yeah. Well, I think Moutier, that's the thing also. There's so many guys. Dotson actually has looked decent. And he kind of, in some ways, you feel like he's earning playing time. But I can't see how you're going to fit Dotson in there. How many guards can you play?
Yeah, I mean, if Moutier gets minutes, which he's probably going to, you have Hardaway, Lee, and Ntilikina. There's really not many minutes for Trier, Baker, and Dotson.
Well, so Baker's not getting minutes. Dotson's probably not getting minutes either, but you still have if you're going to try to get fit minutes in for Moutier, the longer you stick with this Moutier experiment, the worse it is for everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I don't see Moutier ever. That's why I think you send him down to the G League, see what he can do, give him a month there. If he looks great in a month, bring him back up, or give him 2 months. Just the same thing that Burke did. Burke had to prove himself in the G League. Moutier should do the exact same thing.
Agreed.
He's a complete mess right now, and it doesn't help anyone having him play regular NBA games.
If he can't defend or shoot, his passing doesn't even matter that much.
I don't know what the rules are as far as sending guys down there. I think once you're in the league for a little while, you have to get the team. You have to basically give the team permission to send you down there.
Right.
But Moody also, he's still making a bunch of money. He should be. His salary does not change. He should be basically the same way that Burke was willing to do it. He should be willing to do it. I don't.
Well, I mean, you could also say you can go to the G League or you can play 1 minute a game.
I mean, I just think you pitch it to him in the right way. You have a good relationship, and the way Fizdale seems to have a good relationship with all these guys. You just say, hey, the best thing for your game is to get your confidence up. Why don't you spend a few weeks there? If either you light stuff up there, you look great, and you come back up here, and then you have the confidence, you're going to play better. And if you suck down, or you go down there and you suck, then you're going to suck here even worse. So you don't help us or yourself. You need to be able to dominate G League before you're going to play well for us.
Yeah.
I think those are my big the roster competitions. So basically, starting lineup, I feel like so with Ntilikina or Burke, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Timmy, Knox seems like he's set the 3, right?
Yeah. Well,
Who's starting over him?
Lance.
No, Lance is going to start the 4, I feel like.
Okay, well, they're kind of interchangeable. That's fine.
And I also feel like the Knicks want to give. It looks like Knox has gotten a lot of playing time in the preseason, and even the Pelicans game, he didn't look good for a while in the Pelicans game, and then he was out there with all the third stringers at the end of the game because it looked like Fizdale was just like, let's give him more playing time.
Yeah, and he ended up with a double-doubles. He shot terrible, but he ended up with a double-double.
Yeah, I mean, he's. I feel like this year's about development, and I think Fizdale hopefully gets that. Like a guy like Knox, he has to play. Knox is not going to play 20 minutes a game. He's going to play 30 minutes a game, I think, from the start.
Yeah, and Cantor's starting too, so that rounds out the starting lineup.
Yeah, and then off the bench, you feel like Mitchell Robinson and Noah Vonleh are coming off obviously for Cantor. You got the Mario's coming off for Knox. The guards where it gets hard because then Ntilikina, Moutier,
And Lee.
and Courtney Lee, and Dotson and Baker are gonna have to wait on playing time. I feel like.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to get traded or injured.
Yeah, but all this stuff. Every year, someone does get injured. It always happens, no matter what you want. People get injured. Playing time. There's never a season really where like the guy that's really good just can't work his way in the lineup. There's never like there are guys like last year we wanted Dotson to get some more playing time. Years past we want someone else to get more playing time. But generally, usually, without a coach having a weird chip on their shoulder about a player, generally most guys are given a chance. And like Jeremy Lin was given a chance, and it worked out. I mean, things will work itself out. With this. Yeah. So what else do you want to talk about with the games, or you want to jump to? We
got a lot of questions and stuff too, so maybe we should.
Okay, yeah. So I saw an article about some stats from the Knicks from the past seasons, and I thought it'd be interesting to just like to kind of just tell you about these stats basically, and it's all about basically the Knicks under Phil Jackson. The claim was they're going to be a faster flowing offense. I don't know what the hell the claim was with the triangle, but it was just basically about how horrible they were from the mid-range and how inefficient the Knicks were. So here's some general notes from this, and ask you what you think will happen going forward.
Okay.
Okay, so first, basically, they said the first note was the Knicks have had, I don't know if you know this, so obviously the Knicks haven't been in the playoffs in 5 years. It's the second longest drought in the Eastern Conference. Do you know who has a longer drought?
Ooh.
And that drought is 6 years. It's not even that much longer.
6 years. Let's see. It's not. I'm thinking of the bad teams now, but it's not like the Hawks. They were good until recently.
So it has to be a team that maybe 6 years ago there was a reason they were in the playoffs.
Right. So I'm gonna go with the Magic.
Nice.
That was as soon as Dwight left, right? That was it for them?
Exactly it, yeah.
Okay.
So the Knicks are one of two teams that rank in the bottom 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency over the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guess who the other team is? You're not going to guess it.
In the last 5 years?
Yeah. So what other team has been that bad also? Bottom 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency.
If it wasn't for last year, I would have said the Sixers.
I'm just going to give it to the Lakers.
Oh, I was thinking Eastern Conference. Okay.
Yeah. But that will obviously, I assume the Lakers will be better, not in the bottom 5 this year. Are the Knicks going to be in bottom 5 offensive and defensive efficiency?
Let's see. They are not going to be worse than the Suns and the Kings.
The Grizzlies, when last time Fizdale coached, took a major jump in offensive efficiency in his first year there.
Yeah. That's the problem is the West is so stacked. There's not many teams that are going to be worse than they're going to be better than in the West.
I feel like the Knicks have to be. I think the Knicks are going to be more. I think they're going to make a jump. They're not going to be bottom 5 for both these things this year. I'd be surprised.
No, probably bottom 10, but Probably not bottom 5.
Knicks are also have been outscored by 8.9 points per game, the biggest discrepancy in the league from 3-point range last season. Will they still be that horrible in threes? Shooting very few and giving up tons. Is this trend going to reverse itself a little bit this year?
I could see them being better at giving them up, but they don't have the shooting to shoot a ton of threes.
Well, in theory, Fizdale makes everyone shoot more threes. That's the idea. By the way, Cantor shot 2 threes so far in I think 2 or maybe 3 in preseason. Hasn't made one yet, but it looks like Cantor shooting threes will be a thing this year. But in theory, Lance Thomas can knock down a couple shots, knock down shots from 3. In theory, that Burke said he's going to try to shoot more threes this year. I mean, I don't know what will happen.
Yeah, but these are not like
no,
great
you're right.
shooters.
You're right.
It's just guys who aren't good trying to shoot threes.
Yeah. I mean, the Nets. They shot like the Nets. I think in the first game, the net game, the Knicks shot. I think the discrepancy was insane. Let me find this number here for you. In the Nets game, the Knicks shot 15 threes, which is you probably want to shoot in today's NBA 20 threes a game at least.
Yeah.
Okay. The Nets shot 41 threes. The Nets are just firing with abandon from 3. They shot like 20% from. The problem is the Nets just aren't making the threes, but they are. And the same thing last year. The Nets they were top 3 or top 4 in the 3-pointer shot. They just can't make the shots.
Yeah, I mean the Knicks took 30 against the Pelicans. The problem is they only hit 7.
Yeah, I mean obviously you got to make them. So the Knicks are also tied with Philly for the most losses after leading by 20 points. They were 15-4 after leading by 20 plus. So the Knicks last year, there were 4 times where they were leading by 20 points and they lost the game.
I don't think will happen.
I think that with conditioning will get better.
Yeah.
And the Knicks, they had the league's second biggest home road net rating differential, outscored their opponents by 0.1 points per 100 at home, and got outscored by 8.6 on the road.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen again either.
Well, is that something about conditioning where the less conditioned team just does worse on the road?
No, I think it's more of a young or inexperienced team.
So you think this will change and the Knicks won't have as big a discrepancy between home and road?
Correct.
Okay. Some more of these are kind of interesting. They've ranked bottom 10 in effective field goal percentage in each of the last 4 seasons and bottom 10 in free throw rate in each of the last 5. Will this stuff get better? So effective field goal range percentage gets really hurt by the fact you're not taking and making a lot of threes.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to get better this year.
Will they get to the line more? Free throw rate?
I think they're still bottom 10.
Okay. Ranked 22nd offensively, 23rd there. So the Knicks ranked 22nd offensively in points per possession on offense at the time of Porzingis' injury, and they were 23rd afterwards. So offensively, they actually didn't get much worse after Porzingis got injured.
I think they'll be slightly better.
I think their defense got much worse after Porzingis got injured, but their offense actually wasn't that much worse. Got 9.7 points per game, third most in the league from rollmen, according to Synergy.
I think that'll go up.
Scored just.
Or aren't they like all roll men except technically Hardaway at this point?
Yeah, scored 0.8 points per possession on isolations. That was the 4th worst rate in the league, according to Synergy. Play type tracking. Will they get better in isolation?
They got ISO Zo.
They got ISO Zo. On defense, they have been worse than average defensive team in 16 of the last 17 seasons. I think it's going to be 17 of 18.
Yeah.
Ranked 17th defensively at the time of Porzingis' injury, 30th thereafter.
I don't think they'll be 30th, but they're probably still like.
Well, that's the big thing is that you want a team that's going to be good enough that you add Porzingis back to it, they're going to be a lot better. Because when Porzingis went down, the team went to crap. You need a team that's I mean, hopefully the team learns how to win without Porzingis, so they'll be even better with Porzingis comes back, obviously.
Yep.
They were also
when
one of
Porzingis-
3 teams that ranked in the bottom 10 in at least 3 of 4 factors on defense. I don't want to click on what the factors were, but Memphis and Phoenix were really bad also. Saw the league's second biggest decrease in the percentage of opponents' shots that came from the restricted area from 36%, league's highest rate in 2016-17, to 32%, 11th highest rate last season. I don't know what to say about that. Allowed 0.76 points per possession on isolations, the best mark in the league. So they actually were pretty good against isolations.
Okay. That's something.
And they allowed a league high 258 corner 3-pointers.
That I believe.
So apparently the Knicks pretended that shot didn't exist last year.
I felt like it's been like that for at least 5-6 years.
Yeah. That's pretty much. I mean, there's a bunch of other things in this article, but I thought those were pretty interesting things to cover. You want to go to where are they now? Kurt Rambis is a assistant now with the Lakers.
Well, have fun with that.
So if you wanted a reason to think the Lakers are not going to be as good as everyone hopes with LeBron, that reason is Kurt Rambis.
Look no further than Kurt.
So you want to jump to questions or anything else? Anything else you want to cover before we go to questions?
Nope, that's all we got. Patreon.com/NY Knicks podcast if you want to help support the show.
Let me ask you one more question. What are you looking for in the last 2 preseason games from the Knicks? You got Wizards coming up, and you got the Wizards are coming up in the last, and then on Monday, and then what are you looking for?
I want to see aggressiveness from Ntilikina. I don't care if he misses. I want to see him driving. I want to see him shooting. Yeah,
I mean, you feel like the game doesn't count anyway. You can be aggressive in preseason. Yeah,
I don't know if Robinson's going to play or not, but
I'm hoping he plays. I mean, he's not going to play this first game. But hopefully, he plays the next game.
So this goes for Robinson and Knox. I want to see their fouls and turnovers go down.
Oh, okay.
And I want to see Hezonja start showing off some of that offense that we've been hearing about.
Oh, Friday against the Nets is the last one, the 12th. Yeah, those are all things I agree with you. I totally agree with you. You think the starters play more minutes the last 2 preseason games, or you think they're going to be scaled back a little bit?
I think I think as the preseason goes, it starts to emulate an actual regular season game more and more.
Okay.
I mean, if you notice, the starters were playing like in the teens for minutes the first game, and now they're playing in the 20s, and Knox playing in the 30s. So I think it starts getting closer to what the actual season rotation will look like.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a grueling preseason schedule either. So I mean, your team is supposed to be in good shape. There's no harm in playing those guys 30 minutes for the start. I think if Friday being the last game, preseason game, and then the first regular season game starts on the following Wednesday.
Right.
So
yeah, you got a lot of time off.
Okay. Okay. So go to questions.
All right. Email is nyknickspodcast@gmail.com. Twitter is nyknickspodcast, and Instagram is nyknickspodcast. Sorry.
What?
No, I just paused. Lorenzo writes, in general NBA talk, do you think that the Cavs will make the NBA Finals? No.
Why?
If they do, Mark needs to stand in a busy subway station handing out flyers promoting the JBA, the Jewish Basketball Association, and the fact that he's starting a new team called the New York Knicks. And if the Cavs sweep the Warriors in the finals, then Jay needs to create a heap of New York Knicks podcast T-shirts. Do you guys accept?
Sure. I mean, the Cavs are. I think they're a fringe playoff team. But I accept. I will start this Jewish basketball league. I'll do it. Sure.
Mr. C writes, would you waive a player to give Alonzo Trier a roster spot, and if who?
I would not waive them. I think we discussed. I would not waive him now just because he's got 45 days plus time until the G League starts. So let that time run out. But once we have to start cutting players, well, first, Joakim Noah gets cut very soon, hopefully. And when he gets cut, I think Vonleh deserves his spot in the roster.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
But once you need a roster spot from there, 2 months of the season should be enough time to know whether you're going to cut Moutier. If not Moutier, Luke Cornett could be cut. I don't know who else is on the hot seat. Sorry to say.
I think it's probably Cornette.
Yeah.
I think Cornette's in big trouble.
I don't think Baker's going to get cut. I think they like his hustle. I think there's a chance Moutier gets cut. I think in 2 months of the season, if he's still looking like garbage and he's not taking an extended role in G League, I think he could be done.
Yeah, they're going to give him. I think they're going to give him a lot of run in the beginning of the season, and yeah, if he still looks like trash, they're going to be like, "Well, this isn't working out."
I mean, a guy like Kadeem Allen, who's I haven't seen that much from him, but he was good last year in the G League. I think he's back in the G League. I don't think he's getting a roster spot here.
No, he's not.
I don't know how else you would cut though. Like Cornette looks like Vonleh's look good enough that I feel like you can say the only benefit of having Cornette is that like depth if a guy gets injured. But I heard a theory that the Knicks should be playing more of Cornette just because he's kind of KP light, and the lanky guy that supposedly has KP light ability, and you just have him there, and so guys will get used to playing with KP by having Luke Cornette out there, which just seemed like the dumbest theory I've ever heard.
Yeah. Hey, let's just play a guy who's nowhere near as good, but like looks kind of like him.
I mean, I get that Cornette is like lanky and can shoot threes, but him and KP are just like other planet like difference as far as skill level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. C also writes, "Hey guys, do you think Moutier will end up with more assists or more off-balance drives ending on the floor this season?"
Isn't it amazing? Also, out of preseason, they said that they were like Moutier's not been turning the ball over. He's turned over the ball over the least amount in the camp, and now he's just like looks like a turnover machine.
I know. It was like, what happened? What happened? It's a span of like 4 days, and he went from like impressing everybody to looking like complete trash.
It seems like Fizdale really wants to talk everyone up in the preseason to get their like confidence going. But even like, and he's still saying nice things about Moutier, but Moutier's got to be like, okay, coach, I get it. Okay, stop it. Okay, I'm trash. I get it. Okay.
Yeah. Frank writes.
Yeah.
Axel writes. The topic is Frank.
It's Axel Rose.
Yes, he's a big fan. Big fan.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, guys. I just want to ask your opinions regarding Frank Ntilikina. In my opinion, I think the board should really consider if he's worth having on the team. Although his defense is elite, his offense game just isn't there at all, with barely any improvement from last season. I think we could find a good defender with better offense and trade away Ntilikina while his trade value is still high. What's your thoughts? Also, well, let's take this first part.
Wow. Is this an email?
This is an email.
So no, I feel like 1 year in the league, he's shown above average defense. His offense is not where you'd like it to be, but and it's also it's hard to say after like he hasn't looked that much better on offense yet, but it is also the preseason.
Yeah.
I feel like what is that piano behind you?
I don't know. Ignore it.
I'd say it's crazy to be even thinking at all about cutting him right now. I think you ride out his first 4 years, and I think he's part of our future, and just give him a chance to develop. I think it's crazy how fast teams write guys off, and you hear about other players talk about Frank and what they see of him in practice. Everyone that's played with him thinks he's going to be really good. He just hasn't yet demonstrated that offensive games, and his defense has looked great.
Well, also I want to see what he looks like in actual NBA games. So there's players that look good in preseason and players that don't, and vice versa. Let's see some regular
Ronaldo
season games.
Bachman, by the way. Remember Ronaldo Bachman?
The king of summer league.
Yes. No, it wasn't. It was a preseason game where it was a strike shortened season. They had a shorter preseason. He had a huge game, I think, against the Nets, and we were like, okay, the Knicks should play Bachman. And shortly thereafter, he was out of the league permanently.
Yeah, choking people in the Philippines.
Yes, getting suspended from the Philippine Basketball League for trying to murder someone. So basically, the idea that like preseason, summer league, whatever, NBA games are what really matters.
Yeah, I mean, obviously can't come up with an example offhand, but there's been players that did not look good in preseason and then looked good in the regular season.
And at the end of the day, like I really think with Ntilikina, I still very much believe he's going to be a very good NBA player. I think he's obviously very good on defensive ready. He's just one of those guys that is going to be it's a slow burn.
Well, I also don't want to give up on him because for years we railed that we never give our draft picks a chance and trade them and then they blossom on other teams.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, you're like, hey, this guy's going to be a relatively inexpensive player for 4 years. Ride that out. And then maybe sign him and keep him for a little longer. See how these guys work out. What's his name? The guy on the Rockets for the Nets draft. Actually, he actually went to the Suns now.
Trevor Ariza. I was just about to say Trevor Ariza.
Yeah, Knicks bailed on him very, very early. And,
2 years.
Actually, he's got a very, very solid NBA career.
He actually halfway through his second year, the Knicks traded him, and he's had a great career.
Well, what trade was he involved though? Wasn't it in the was the Camby trade or the
He went to Orlando.
What trade was he? Whatever. I feel like he was involved in a big enough trade.
Oh, that was the one where he went with Steve Francis and Penny Hardaway.
Who'd they get in return?
2 guys who also we shouldn't even have had Hardaway and Francis on the team to begin with.
Yeah. No, that was in exchange for Steve Francis. That was the Isaiah Thomas's theory that I'm going to trade almost nothing and get a guy who's going to be immediately the best player on our team because Stevie Franchise.
For Steve Francis. Oh my God.
Yeah, he'd supposed to be a very good player, but also a complete cancer. And of course, he was a complete cancer when he got here, and he was terrible. And in exchange, you gave up Trevor Ariza, who had a long and distinguished, solid NBA career. He's not been a star, but like he's been a starter on a lot of good teams. We would love to have had Trevor Ariza this last decade.
Steve Francis played total on his max. It was a max contract at the time. He played.
But the Knicks did not max him out. Just I know the Knicks are.
But they traded for a max contract.
Yes, that's true.
And he played 24 out of like the 40 games that season and 44 out of the full season the next season. And then he played 10 games for the Rockets and retired. So once again, the Knicks get a guy who's out of the league almost immediately after they have him.
He was a guy that could average 20 points a game. And there was a bunch of there was a lot I mean, Orlando, when they got rid of him, they knew that like he's got to go, basically. And the Knicks were just like, they were like, we'll trade him for nothing. And the Knicks are like, hey, how about this guy will be in the league for a decade? Sounds good to us.
Yeah, they definitely saw something.
Anyway, yeah, the bigger point is that don't give up on your rookies. Like, stick with them longer, see how it goes. And Frankie's shown enough that, like, if a guy's above average on defense already, and he shows glimmers so far of like being could be good on offense. Let's stick with it and see where it goes.
Part 2 of Axel's question.
Yeah.
What's your take on Alonzo Trier? For me, he's a stud, and it would be stupid to just send him away to another team where he'll become a Hall of Famer or some shit. And if so, who should we cut? Best regards from Sweden.
We have him for the season. He's a 2-way contract. The Knicks do not. The Knicks they can pay. The Knicks do not have to do anything to keep Alonzo Trier. He has no right to leave, basically. So on the one hand, we have him here, but he also seems like a guy. I don't know what his contract is beyond the 2-way. Maybe the Knicks should try to lock him up for a few years, like at least like another get next season locked in.
Let's see how he plays in the first couple of weeks. First.
No, he's the greatest player of all time, Jay. Stop it.
Let's tap on the brake pedal a little bit.
I would say, though, if you're going to convert his 2-way contract to a regular contract and give him a regular roster spot, which the Knicks may have to end up doing, you'll want to lock in that second. Give the Knicks a team option in the second year.
Yeah.
You don't want him to have a good year and then leave.
No, I agree, but let's let a couple games soak in first.
He looks like a guy also that some nights will go 3, given the opportunity, will go either 8 for 12 or 3 for 12.
Yeah.
But he looks like a guy who can get to the line. He looks tough. If he was our second round pick, I'd be very happy.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, so far, if Alonzo Trier was our second round pick, I'd be ecstatic. If Mitchell Robinson was our first round pick, I would be ecstatic. So
if we drafted Mitchell Robinson 7th, you'd be ecstatic.
I think he's going to be really good. I'm very high on Mitchell Robinson. I don't necessarily think he's going to be a world beater this year, but I feel like he will be 5 years from now. Mitchell Robinson is our starting center. He's next to KP, or if you make him the 4, KP the 5, whatever you want to do it. Robinson will be on this team 5 years as a starter. Knox will be a starter also in 5 years. I think we got 2 starters that'll be here for a long time. So you get a starting center with number 7 pick. I'm good.
Okay.
You're not as high on Mitchell Robinson. I am. And it's going to be some growing pains, but he looks really good. I feel like, again, they compare him to Capella. I think he'll become a Capella-like player, which will be fantastic. It actually turns out to be like that. His length, his ability to block shots, his instincts, I think he's going to be really good.
Twitter, NY Knicks Podcast. Icardi Edition writes, Frank needs to be traded while he still has value.
I also don't think, let's just say the Knicks agree with that. What value do you get? Because I feel like if a team thinks you're giving up on your guy, like your sophomore year player, are you really going to get that much for Ntilikina right now?
Right. Yeah, he's on a rookie contract, so you're going to try and get somebody who has a $4 million a year contract? Those are the Ron Bakers of the world.
At most, I feel like maybe you can get a first-round draft pick in the late first round.
Yeah, which will probably be a player who's worse.
Yeah, let's stick with him and see how it goes.
Alan asks, Marc and Jay, every year at this time, you're both very optimistic. Mark probably more so. Yet we all know you will...
think so? I just called 2 of our draft picks as starters for the next 5 years. In 5 years at least, whatever.
Yet we all know you will both be disgusted and dejected at the team by February. What will go wrong between now and then?
By February, it might be by December, but okay. What will go wrong? Let's talk about some worst case scenarios here. You want to go back and forth on this? I'm going to say Knox will be shooting 32% from the field. He'll be missing lots of shots, making some shots, but like very low percentage. That'll get painful.
I don't think we've talked enough or at all about how bad Hardaway's looked.
He has not looked that bad.
He's looked pretty bad.
I don't think he's looked that bad. He's looked good at times. He'll be inefficient. Yeah.
If he takes 20 shots a game and hits 6 of them every time, then
he's not going to do that every time. I think Hardaway's going to be better than you expect.
Preseason game so far. I'm sure he'll do better against NBA competition though.
Has it been so? Okay, let me just look back at the stats on this because I know he's missed a bunch of shots. I've liked some things I've seen from him. So, 3 for 11 against the Nets. Against the Pelicans, he was
6 for 19. 6 for 18.
Okay, whatever. He shot better than Anthony Davis that day, so that's something. Okay, fine, forget it. Okay, so Timmy Hardaway, super inefficient. What else? What else is going to happen that's going to make us angry? Cantor's defense is a problem.
Yeah, he stops rebounding the way he's rebounding now, but his defense still stays terrible.
Or Cantor gets injured, and then our starting center is Vonleh / Mitchell Robinson,
who both foul out in 15 minutes.
We're in trouble at the center position. Yes.
Hezonja also mimics Tim Hardaway and just can't hit a shot.
Hezonja looks like the guy that Orlando was right to get rid of. Ntilikina looks scared to get the drive to the basket. This is also worst case scenario.
I think we might have to end this because this will just be the rest of the show.
Alonzo Trier looks like a guy that should be in the G League. Lance Thomas looks like Lance Thomas. Moutier, it looks like garbage yet keeps getting playing time.
Anthony writes, what will happen first? Connor to the WWE or Knicks winning a championship?
Connor being the UFC, the Ultimate Fighter guy.
Yeah.
He should.
Are you up to date on what happened last night?
I am not even up to date on remembering what his first name is.
Okay. Connor's his first name.
Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, yeah.
Fast forward 1 minute if you don't want to hear about last night's fight. So, Conor McGregor had a fight last night.
Okay.
And he lost. So that's 2 out of his last 4. So that's why I'm picking Conor to WWE.
But who did he lose to? Who was that big fight? He had a fight against
Nate Diaz.
Did he have a fight against a boxer? It was
Oh
against
yeah.
one of the best boxers of our time. It wasn't Pacquiao. It was the other dude.
There's so
Not a
many people
boxing
yelling at us right now. This is how much we watch boxing.
But then he fought him.
Floyd
It was
Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather.
Mayweather. So what's happened since the Mayweather fight? Because I didn't know anything about Conor since that fight.
Okay, so Conor McGregor went back to the UFC.
Okay.
And he was fighting this guy, Khabib, who is undefeated. He was 26-0.
Okay.
And so he lost, and he lost pretty soundly.
Okay.
But then they've been going back and forth. So they've been talking trash for like years. And Conor McGregor like threw something through the window of Khabib's bus at some point, and they've just been talking crazy stuff. So it expanded to like their teams, all the people around them. So after Khabib beat McGregor, he jumped out of the ring and started fighting another guy in Conor McGregor's crew. And this is right after the fight. Like he said, yeah, I won. And he jumps out of the ring and starts beating the shit out of somebody else.
This sounds like it's supposed to be WWE.
Yeah. And then Khabib's guys jump into the ring and start punching McGregor. So it was just like absolute chaos after the fight. It was crazy.
Wow, that is fucking weird.
I mean, this huge guy just started punching McGregor in the back of the head.
I mean, like, it just makes more sense when it's like, obviously, when it's WWE, you're like, oh, it's all staged, it's all like a big soap opera anyway. But that's just weird that happened. Shouldn't he go to, like, if he went to WWE, wouldn't he get a big enough, like, make enough money that it'd be worthwhile versus staying in UFC?
Probably. I mean, these guys like fighting.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It feels like, hey, you're probably going to be less injured in the fake fighting than the real fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, this was McGregor's first fight in 2 years, and he came out looking good. But Khabib is he's really, really good.
How much you watch that, the UFC stuff? Did you watch the one last night, I guess?
I did, because I found out that people upload all the fights to YouTube the very next day. So instead of paying $50 on a Saturday, I could watch it on YouTube on a Sunday.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was a thing.
I didn't.
It's also like
it's nice.
You don't even have to hear about like the who wins. I mean, in the sense of like not everyone's talking about these fights, so you could probably just like not watch, and probably no one's even going to tell you who won until unless you have friends that are brilliant into this also.
Well, I mean, this one I heard about just because of the brawls and stuff.
That's a fair point. Yeah,
obviously pretty crazy. But anyway,
yeah.
Any more Twitter we have? With Donsman writes, with belief and confidence given to and shown by the players, leaving out Knox and Robinson, who might have you underrated? Who has the biggest upside?
Leaving out Knox and Robinson, I guess I would say Trier wouldn't be bad. You know what? Besides Trier, I've talked about Trier a little bit. Noah Vonleh might have more upside than I would have realized I didn't even know why the Knicks were signing him at first.
I would say Vonleh or Dotson.
Yeah, but Dotson's the guy we really underrated. But it also seems like it's going to be tough for him to get playing time.
It is, but like we said, the injuries will probably happen, and then we'll see who rises.
Yeah. Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay, Ralph writes, Trier stays. Who should go? We talked about that. Ralph also writes, is Cantor's defense better?
Not really.
I mean, I feel like he's been... We'll see more Cantor. We'll see more of his defense and get upsets. He's looked okay so far. I don't really think he's better, though. Ralph also writes, how about a Beast Report? He's on the Nets. Jay, you got the music?
Do you have a Beast Report?
He's on the Nets. He's like, I give you a Beast Report.
Okay, well then I can do it.
Get ready for
Taylor's oldest time.
the Beast Report.
I missed that. DeMarre Carroll. He was signed by the Raptors. One of our resident Raptor fan, Steven, said he was a beast. And since that time, DeMarre Carroll has gone on to dominate the league. He's now in the Nets. And in preseason, he put up a solid 0 points, 0 for 5 from shoot on the field, 0 for 4 from 3, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 turnovers, and a personal foul. And unlike Lance Thomas, he's not a plus 18. He's a minus 15. So the beast is in the house.
Beastly numbers.
He is the starting small forward for the Brooklyn Nets. If you're a Brooklyn Nets fan, switch to the Knicks now.
I don't think that's going to gain a lot of fans.
Why? Your team is atrocious. You're starting. Look at your starting line. And I don't know if this is definitely going to be your starting lineup, but you got Alan Crabb, who's on a ridiculous contract. You got Russell, who's the Lakers couldn't get rid of fast enough. You got Carroll. I mean, you got Allen, who looks decent. What's his first name? Jared Allen. He looks decent. Cantor basically ate him for lunch. So that's a good sign for you guys. And you got LeVert, who looks solid. The Nets are 5 years from being 5 years from being good.
Yeah.
So just get out while you can. Just say whatever. Just say I'm going to be a Knicks fan. Knicks are the real deal in New York. Brooklyn. The Nets are going to be back to New Jersey soon. They'll be back in New Jersey. Just give it time. Nick writes, Alonzo Trier as the dark horse starting point guard. That is a dark horse.
Yeah, I think Nick also needs to tap on the brakes a little bit.
He had one awesome game. So I'm all on this. Trier also, the good thing about Trier, he had some things happen in his past where it at least explains why he's an undrafted free agent.
Okay.
Like he bounced around high schools for various reasons. In college, he tested twice positive for PEDs. The second time he was, I guess the second time was still residue from the first test, so they ended up like canceling that one. And he apparently was in a car accident. He had a bunch of things that's happened to him over the years that explains why he's been undervalued or underrated, and that why he'd fall. The same way Mitchell Robinson, he didn't play in college last year, explains why he fell. You watch Trier should at least have been a mid to high second round pick, based on what I've seen from him.
Yeah, I agree.
And Mitchell Robinson, like what you've seen from him, he should have been like. There's no way he should have left the first round.
Yeah. I think the Knicks got a steal there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be. Are you? I know you're not as optimistic as I am about all these players, but let's just pretend to be optimistic till the
inevitable 3-11 start.
Yeah, until the tractor trailer known as reality hits it square in the face. Jeffrey writes, can you see Trier at some point, maybe sooner than we think, breaking Courtney Lee's free throw streak? He's 17 for 17 already in preseason.
I didn't even realize that. Wow.
That is pretty good. I missed that also. That streak is pretty god. How many did Courtney Lee hit in a row? Like 80 something?
I think so. It was a lot. The thing is, I don't know if Trier's going to get enough playing time to even get that many free throws.
Either way, I feel like Trier does look like a guy that can get to the line, which is huge.
Yeah. Definitely a much needed aspect of the Knicks game.
Like, remember when like Derrick Rose was here and he would drive to the basket and just never get to the line?
Yeah.
That's not as helpful as getting to the line.
Just contort his body just to try and avoid all contact. It was fun.
When you're made of glass, I understand doing that, but it just does not contribute to winning. Leonard writes, what are your thoughts on the KD rumors? Jay, can you update me? What are the KD rumors?
The latest is he wasn't committal, but he said he'll be very open and forthright about his decision-making process. But I think he's staying with Golden State.
I don't know how he leaves there.
Yeah. Why would anybody leave that team?
They've been to the finals 4 straight years. Is that right? And they won 3 of 4 titles.
Yeah.
And they will probably win the title this year.
Clear favorites this year.
Yeah. I mean, what would be the I guess, like, I want to prove I can do it in another city? or maybe doing it in New York is like doing it like
Right, or if you
nowhere else.
think like, well, this is still really Curry's team.
Yeah,
maybe
I mean
I'll-
the big knock is on him is they won 73 games and then they added KD, so like they've not needed him to win all these titles in theory.
On the other hand, they're now in territory where they could be thought of as the greatest team of all time. So maybe you want to keep that going.
Yeah, and he's not like he came there and he's become a very solid role player. He's arguably the best player on the team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't see him leaving, but maybe you get bored of winning titles. Nick writes, Knicks tanked this season to get Zion, signed KD, and Kemba in the offseason for a starting five of Kemba, Zion, Knox, KD, KP.
Cool. I like it.
Okay. Jeffrey writes, why are we so hung up on the sexiness of signing a free agent with a big name like Kevin Durant? Why waste money signing a free agent over 30 who has ranked top 10 in minutes played per game for 7 seasons? He's played almost twice as many minutes as Butler, 28,000 versus 15,000. Wow. It's not like we're one player away or 1 year away from contending for a championship. By the time you guys are ready, he'll be breaking down. Besides, where would he play? KP is the 4, Knox is a solid 3, Durant can't play the 5. I say we forget about him and look for a younger, up-and-coming free agents, even if it means waiting another year.
100% agree.
I think if Kevin Durant says he wants to come here, I'll just change the plan. I completely agree. I love everything that Jeffrey said. And I think that generally holds true. If Kevin Durant wants to come here, I'll give it a roll. Let's give that a spin, see how it goes. It's like if LeBron James wanted to come here and play. If you want to sign a 3-year contract here, just see how it goes.
I mean, yeah, you could do worse than Kevin Durant, but it is true. His peak is not going to.
No,
It's
everything
not
he's
gonna
saying
coincide
makes a
with
lot of
everybody.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could see him really falling, but you get, and where does he fit and everything else? You add Durant to this team, you feel like we have a shot at least in the East.
True.
You're not beating Golden State still, but well, actually, maybe you're beating Golden State because Golden State just got weaker because they don't have Kevin Durant.
Yeah, they only won 73 games without him.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say like Durant, LeBron, and the list ends of guys I'm dying to sign.
Yeah.
Would you? And you wouldn't even take LeBron because you hate his guts, right?
Well, that and he's 34 now. He'll be 35 by the time the Knicks even get a shot at him. I definitely don't want a 35-year-old LeBron.
Is there a chance LeBron doesn't make the playoffs this year?
Yeah, absolutely.
I really want to see what happens with that team. I think they're going to take, at the very least, they're going to have some growing pains before they get good.
I mean, the West is so deep. There's a chance.
West is so deep, and that team is going to be a weird team.
Yeah.
And I forget what I heard make this point, but the all these vets they signed, they might want to like just not play those guys because I think their entire everything hinges on obviously LeBron being LeBron and all the young guys stepping up. You want to see Ingram, Ball, that guy they had Hart who was lighting things up in a summer league who looked pretty good.
Mhm.
Kuzma, those are the guys that need to play well if this team has a chance of taking it to the next level and like contending. Maybe Rondo can be helpful, but like, there's no reason Beasley. They should cut Beasley right now.
Yeah. I mean, keep him
I know
for
you went
like.
on the Lakers, the Almighty Ballers Podcast Network Lakers show, which and you said you gave him the perspective on Beasley. I think if I went on with you, I would have just said cut Beasley right now. There is no point if you are giving Beasley minutes. You need Beasley to score for you. Season's over.
So you're saying Lakers Legacy Podcast was happier that I was a guest instead of you?
Yeah, I was like, they were like, well, what do you think of cut him now? Just cut him now. It's not gonna. You play Beasley for 10 minutes a game, you're gonna get cancer. And if you play him more than that, your season's in turmoil.
They would have had a 3-minute podcast.
It really is though. Like it's the young guys that are gonna matter on this team if they really want to win a title. Having guys like Lance Stevenson or like Beasley, they're not going to be. I see Rondo from a veteran point guard perspective, like being helpful. The other guys, I just do not see it being helpful. I think the young guys better get better if they're going to do anything this year. Lee writes, "We'd love to hear more of your thoughts on Timmy right now. I currently see him as not not-so-good player who can erupt and win us 5 extra games, but plays badly most nights and impacts minutes. Basically not adding to the potential of the team, but negatively affecting draft picks. Would you give Trier his minutes? If we could trade him, what would you hope to get for him? Watching Pell's game right now, again, started red hot, now he is cold, but continues to let fly. I'm going to let Jay address this one, because Jay hates him the most.
I would trade him for pretty much anything you can get at this point. I think he's super, super inefficient. He's bad on defense. I don't see what positivity adds to the team. Yeah, he can get hot once in a while. We've had that we had that with Crawford. We had that with JR. It's not a winning recipe. Yeah, he'll win a couple games. Big whoop. He's going to shoot us out of more games than he's going to win us.
Okay. Ron writes, should the Knicks keep Trey and Timmy? Oh, would you give Trier his minutes? Don't worry, you didn't address.
Yeah, I'd give anybody on the roster. I'd give Moutier his minutes.
Well, that Jay, I mean, you could walk that one back. That last part.
Okay, I do walk that one back.
Okay, Moody, I would not give anyone Moody his minutes.
I would cut Moutier to have an open roster spot, and then I would sign Moutier back to a 10-day contract just so I could cut Moutier a second time.
I'm pretty sure empty roster spot is dominating this competition with Moutier right now. Ron writes, should the Knicks keep Trey and Timmy in the backcourt and bring in Frank and Trier as a combo off the bench? Dotson can play the 3. I don't know if Dotson can play the 3, but
interesting.
What?
I mean, it's worth experimenting with.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what they did in the well, I guess no, they didn't. I guess they didn't do that. I try this. Why not? This year's all about experimentation anyway, right?
Yeah.
Ralph writes, which I like this being our last question. Isn't Lance Thomas playing great? Jay?
There will not be a Lance Thomas apology episode if that's what you're getting at, Ralph.
I think there should be very soon. I will wait till he does something in the regular season that matters.
Every time I apologize to Lance Thomas, he ends up sucking for like 6 straight weeks.
Yeah, I do think he's one of those guys that will not be like the box score won't be the way to really tell how well he played. I think the plus minus is going to be more important for a player like him. I do think that I noticed a lot last season. He would just stand at the 3-point line, and the Knicks just would never pass to him.
Yeah.
I'm expecting the Knicks will pass to him a little more, and he'll take some more shots. Do you think anyone in this team will shoot 6 3-pointers a game?
Hardaway might. He'll hit one of them.
Yeah, I think Hardaway. Yeah, hopefully 2 of them, or else it'll be really bad.
Yeah.
What did we learn today, Jay?
We learned that the Knicks are undefeated in preseason, and they played more than one game.
They're undefeated in the preseason and undefeated in the regular season.
There you go. We learned that there is a lot of roster battles coming up.
A lot. But they're all like, I think we agree they're all like, they're not really battles. I mean, they're not like, they're all competitions, but like this is not all these guys will get playing time.
Yeah, friendly competition. We will be back next Saturday. We are doing our 10th annual draft episode. So we'll be doing a live draft and talking about it while we do it.
Yeah. We will also talk Knicks and talk about the preseason during that. I will harass Jay as much as possible. I will do all I can to make it an entertaining show by harassing the crap out of Jay. I am not going to have a team because my role in this will be just to harass Jay.
We're doing the episode live, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter to get a link to the live show if you want to chat along with us.
Yeah. So wait, how is that going to work?
We're doing a Google Hangout, so I think I just put out a link and people can watch us.
Yeah, so as long as you have a Gmail account, you'll be able to follow us.
I think you could watch with anything. You just click on the link,
or a YouTube account, or okay. So
link.
Especially if you're in the draft, you might want to follow us, and if you're not in the draft, you should still follow us because it should be entertaining for the first hour until I get tired.
And then Mark gets cranky.
Yeah. Then I start being like, can't this draft go faster? What the hell? Why are we doing this, Jay?
All
but
right.
until then.
Yeah, until then, stay tuned for that. You really sold that one.
Yeah.
So, yes.
No, it's going to be good. It's usually a pretty entertaining episode. And it's basically me just ripping on Jay the entire episode. So it should be last year, what was the big thing? Robert Covington?
Yeah.
So that was pretty. And Jay seemed to have won that for a little while.
Well, also spending $45 on Gordon Hayward, who lasted 6 minutes into the season.
Oh, I forgot you did that.
And then I spent $15 on Miratek, who had his face smashed in the preseason.
I would spend some money on Miratek this year, though. I think he's going to be pretty good. He's going to be pretty good.
Can't imagine why I finished in 9th. 2 of my starters got injured for months before the season started. It was good.
So I think I might have said this last show, but one of the things I'm going to do in this show is that it's an auction-style draft where you put up a player and then everyone bids on him. Jay has said I'm allowed to name his auction players.
As long as it's not a $1 player that I'm getting stuck with.
So if no one else bids on the player, you're stuck with the player. So I have to be someone that I feel like some teams are going to bid on. There's a decent chance I will call out some nicknames like Alonzo Trier as Jay's first pick.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will be back next Saturday.
Okay.
Bye, love. Goodbye, everybody. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. You better go away. I'm going.